Speaking with Trinidadian journalist Andre Baptiste, Holding says the governing body now needs to undergo serious constitutional change if it was to escape the cycle of poor governance.
I think this is a positive change, but what I don't want people to think, Andre, that everything is now rosy.
Yeah.
You know, the rose garden is looking well pruned and everything is pretty again, and we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work that has to be done. I think a lot of people, whoever hasn't read it yet, need to go and read Vanessa Bash's article, where she speaks about this specifically. That people might think that it is all roses now, but what needs to be done is what was not done and what has been rejected for so many years. A restructuring of the board with a new constitution, so that what took place previously, Andre, cannot take place again. Where you have people just dominating the situation, doing as they like, and being supported by their lackeys. That needs to stop. Well, the most important thing is for the people, the public in the Caribbean, to have faith again in what is West Indies cricket, or what is known as West Indies cricket. And what they were hoping as well is that will then show on the cricket field, Andre.
Yeah.
There's no point having a fantastic board that functions beautifully and everybody is happy and nothing happens on the cricket field to show the West Indian people that West Indies cricket is getting back to what we would like it to be. But what happens on the cricket field is going to take some time. What is going to happen is that you will find when people have more faith in the people that are running cricket in the Caribbean, you'll have more people wanting to play the game. We have a lot of people, a lot of cricketers, who are not interested or were not interested in playing with the West Indies because they had no faith in the people that were running the game. And now, I think if people get faith again, they will want to play the game. People who are qualified now and youngsters who will be looking forward to playing for the West Indies. As I said, it's not going to be a quick turnaround.
Not change.
You know, it's amazing Mikey would say these things, because I remember Michael Owen said something at the start of the IPL when he said IPL is going to mash up world cricket. And I think that it has affected West Indies cricket. Cricket West Indies more than any other cricketing nation, in terms of so many of our players just went off, and West Indies really didn't have the funds to match or to compare. And so if you look at our retainer contracts, it's so much smaller than the other nations and England. I've told people all the time, Ben Stokes, his contract is £700,000 a year. Our biggest contract is like 200,000 euros per year. 700,000 pounds compared to $200. We don't have the capacity to really compete like that. But there, I heard people say all the time about governance structure and it must be changed and so on, and they have not gone into any details as to what are the problems within these structures. They just say these things and it sounds good all the time,
yes,
but they don't go deep into it to explain what exactly do they mean when they said these structures.
It's the same board members, right? I mean, the same territorial boards
Absolutely.
that come to these meetings and make these decisions. And it's not, you don't elect a king of Cricket West Indies. You have to answer to these board members, and you have to implement whatever policy that they come up with. So nothing really can change.
Well, it's an umbrella statement. Many persons have alluded to it. You have heard Fazer Mohammed say that he would have looked for he wants to see more administrative changes within the board. And I guess even what Wayne has mentioned has to do with administration as well. The fact that IPL would have come in and affected the West Indies setup. Why would it have affected the West Indies setup? Because all our players are gone there, so then they are not here for certain duties. So in terms of administratively structuring the cricket in a certain way so that the players will be here at the best time and so on, that is a part of it all. As I said, I think that in the previous administration, over the last 6, 8, whatever, how many ever years it was, I think that things have been put in place to advance Cricket West Indies in different sectors. What I think will be important from this new administration's perspective is to take the good that has been done and follow on with that, as well as bring in new ideas. I think that is important. That we don't think that, as I keep talking about this, we don't think that, okay, one government was in, so we do away with all of that.
Yeah.
Which happens in which happens in many of our countries from a government perspective.
Right.
And then I've now come in, so I do away with all of what Wayne has done, and I start afresh. This is Chris's program. No, we need to take what Wayne has done, right? Use a good part of what Wayne has done and then build on that. And I think that is important if we're going to get anywhere from Cricket West Indies to match those kind of unions. Even though we don't have the capital, it doesn't mean you can't have the administrative structure. You might not have the same capital.
But I think another thing that hurt Cricket West Indies as well is that the proliferation or the domino effect of the IPL, with almost every nation now having their own T20 tournaments, and our players obviously gravitated to that. They want to ensure that they protect their future. You can't blame players for wanting to do that.
And earn.
And you know what I mean? So therefore they had to make a decision between playing for the West Indies for X amount rather than playing T20 cricket all over the world. And they have obviously, you've seen the decisions that they have made, and you can't fault them for that either. But I was hoping that I'd hear some more things about these structures that they're talking about and these decisions that the Cricket West Indies ignored by the Patterson report. For example, my understanding is that over 90% of his suggestions or recommendations were adopted, and therefore just a few weren't.
But Wayne, I would like to say that there has to be a balance. You want players to earn, certainly all of us do. You want to earn the best that you can as well, but there must be a balance between representing your nation and playing the leagues around the world. Now, other places, I agree, their pocket might be slightly bigger. Other places have got it done. For example, the Australian and English players on serious contracts, for the most part, can't enter the IPL we have seen it in previous seasons until a certain point, because they have to honor their domestic contracts first. Because
they're able, because they are contracted. The problem with West Indian players is that they refuse to retain contracts, right? And there's a thing they call restraint of trade. Now, if I'm not contracted to Cricket West Indies and I want to go to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Australia, England, South Africa, you name it, India, you can't stop them. And therefore, even the NOC offering them a NOC, it's just par for the course. There's no way Cricket West Indies can refuse to give a player an NOC, because they're going to sue them.
We're going to segue a little bit. We continue with cricket as the former West Indies Cricket Board Director and UA Vice Chancellor, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, has described the interim West Indies head coach, Richard Pybus' perception of the now defunct High Performance Centre as deeply troubling. Sir Hilary is quoted as saying this: "He entered into this region at a time when we were developing our strategic response to our problem in the Caribbean and were getting results. We had just brought a young generation of cricketers who are benefiting from the power and pedagogy of the academy, so his entry and representation of a negative attitude towards the project was deeply troubling. He came possessed with the view that young West Indian cricketers did not need to be exposed to the mind game in the way in which those persons such as the elders and the legends had indicated that they must. One of the expressions that came out of that cohort was that young West Indian cricketers were not mentally ready for the international game, that we were very childlike in our performances on the field. They could not understand the poor quality of our on-the-field behavior, and they saw this as a result of the mental and intellectual decline of young men in the Caribbean, and they were very clear about it." So did he say something wrong?
Who?
Pybus?
Not necessarily.
So what's Professor's problem?
Well, I think the Professor has an issue with the fact that the HPC was broken down by Richard Pybus. No,
who started the HPC? Professor Beckles had a lot. That was his baby.
He had a lot to do with it.
That was his baby, but that was owned by Cricket West Indies. I'm just putting that out there because at the moment the coolest ground in Antigua, at least West Indies has a home now, where it's an epicenter for the development of our youngsters now. Everything is there. The facilities, first world. I've gone to look at it, and fantastic stuff. So at least West Indies own their own now, and they can use it to their advantage in the development of our cricket.
But he's saying that Pybus didn't see the benefit of having a high performance centre. No.
But he's the high performance director now, right? Pybus, right? That's what
he's a head coach.
Well, he's a head coach. He moved away from
he hasn't moved away. It's just a temporary position for him to coach the team now until they end
no
the
apparently it's more temporary. But that's another argument altogether.
That's his title. High performance director.
I don't think Professor Beckles is wrong with the fact that doing away maybe with the high performance. If they've moved the high performance centre, that's just one thing. There's nothing wrong with that. If they have done away with the idea, and he is right that a lot of cricketers young cricketers had come into the high performance center, and there were benefits to it. It was a learning experience. There was an opportunity.
There's no denial.
Right. In fact, there are some persons who believe, and I believe as well, that if the resources were there should be a high performance center in each of the major territories, so that a player, in terms of expense, a player here say in Jamaica doesn't necessarily have to go to Barbados to go to the high performance center, play in Trinidad. You have a high performance center set up in the 6 major territories.
I'm never ready for that though, because I need to have a philosophy where all the 6 franchises, they are buying to this particular philosophy in where you prepare the players them in the fitness level and the drills you go through. So when they get into the international stage, it's not new, it's not foreign to them. So we need to at least set up that first in terms of having a philosophy and a definite direction as to how the guys are prepared in the various territories.
Remember, that the argument came about because when we looked at our under 15 performances and our under 19 performances, they were on par with a lot of the rest of the world. But then between that 19 and 23, there was a big fall away. And that was supposed to bridge that gap. So in other words, between 19 and 23, the childhood to the adulthood, there would be a way to teach youngsters what should become. He does have a point.
So the professor was right. It wasn't a mental problem.